morning, everyone.
Good
Good morning.
morning.
So let's start for the demo session today.
Yeah,
Okay. So in this program of cybersecurity, okay, particularly we are going to study number of modules. Okay, the detailed program with regular batch that can be started from the scratch level. Okay. Today in the demo we are going to study about the core concept which is required and the necessary uh, activities to be get performed in security testing, that is called the scanning, or we can call it as a information gathering. So here I'm sharing the slides. Okay, so this particular section is also known as a scanning, or we can call it as a active scanning particularly. So information gathering has specifically two methods. One that is called passive information gathering, other which is known as active information gathering. Okay. And the concept, why I have said that the information gathering is the most important concept, or the beginning phase particularly, because when someone looking forward to attack the target, right? When we think about the concept like being as a hacker or being a security professional, the most important thing is to evaluate all the possibilities, right? So for that we require to perform the information gathering, in which we're trying to collect as much as possible data about the target. And here when we are going to perform active information gathering, so we are more focused on collecting the technical data, means technologies related information, like for example what type of operating system in use, what is the IP or IP network range, what are the number of ports, protocol services in use at the target site. So these are some our core requirements to be get identified. So let's start with this part. Now, as I said, in information gathering, okay, I mean, particularly for security testing, there is a role of information gathering. But before that, we need to understand the exact process or flow of security testing process, that is usually in industry, which is known as a VAPT. That means vulnerability analysis and penetration testing. And this on the slides, which you can see, is that a six-step methodology which is renowned one in the organizations to get perform security testing, or specifically we can call as a penetration testing. So in that six-step methodologies, very first step that is known as pre-engagement activities. So pre-engagement activities means it is just like a communication going to get happen between the organization, or we can say a client who is looking forward to get their infrastructure get tested, and another party that is known as a consultant or security consultant specifically, right? So it will be like initial communication between these two parties, client and a consultant, right? So they discuss about what is the scope, what will be the scope for testing, what are the things going to get covered, the duration it will require to accomplish the activities, obviously a cost involved, how much the consultant will get charged for performing these activities. In the scope specifically points they describe that they want to check for the network security, they want to check for application security, they want to check for system or host security. That means all these are specifically scope can be get added. Certain do's and don'ts properly describe that testers should not perform xyz type of attacks, right? So that all the terms and conditions are properly discussed. Payment terms, whatever the advance and post activity payment terms, so all the things are going to get properly described as an agreement by both the parties, right? And then finally sign off with respective authorities going to get performed, and then it will be kickstart the project. So pre-engagement interactions is all about finalizing for the activities. Okay. Now the technical phase or execution phase begins from the step 2, that is the information gathering, and in which two methods of information gathering going to get performed. One that is the passive information gathering, second That is the active information gathering, which we can call as a scanning also. Okay, means scanning out the devices, scanning out client device, server, the networking device, right? Or scanning out any website, web application, mobile applications, etc. So that is we can call them as a active information gathering. Then the third phase, that is called enumeration, in which there is a general enumeration and VA, that is called vulnerability analysis, going to get performed. So it is specifically the thing that what are the results we obtain from the step 2, right? Either in active or passive information gathering, what are the information we have collected. Now we'll further go in deeper in this enumeration phase for all the findings, and we try to identify what are the possible VA, what are the possible vulnerabilities that exist into that any sort of mechanism, that is either server side, either client side, either application side, right? Or either as a network device or services side. That means vulnerabilities means something like a weakness. We looking forward to identify the possible or potential weakness from any such mechanism. So that is the part of the enumeration. Now the fourth step, which is known as exploitation. Exploration means when any vulnerability identify, and it will be identified as a known vulnerability. Regards to that, there might be a known exploit available, right? That means that specific vulnerability can be get targeted. So exploitation phase means whatever the weaknesses identify, trying to perform attack and validate, and to validate whether this vulnerabilities is in real time exist or not, because sometimes it may also produce some false positive results. Means technically things are not critical, but it can be get presented like it is weakness or something, right? So exploitation is to just like cross check mechanism. That means we perform attack and in real time evaluate whether it is a true vulnerability or not. If it is going to get exploited, that means yes, it is a vulnerability in real time. But if it is not, then possibly it can be get prove that that might be some false positive result identified. So exploitation is specifically to evaluate other perspective. We can think it is particularly the execution which can help the tester to identify a respective strength and weakness in any particular mechanism. It might be server, it might be client, it might be web applications and mobile applications, anything, right? That means whether the particular mechanism is a having strength or a weakness, that can be get proved with the exploration. If exploration going to get successful, weakness can be get identified. If it is not going to get attacked, that means a proper level of strength or security controls are there. Then fifth step, that is known as a post exploration. Now the post exploration means if your exploration activity is going to get successful at the step 4, right? What are the things further can get possible by the tester or the attacker. That means let's say someone has successfully identified weakness in any server side and able to get the control of server or get access to the server, right? So now what happens now after getting the access of the server, that means exploration happen, right? But what are the further possible things that the attacker or the tester can do inside that server, right? Can they be able to add the users? Can they be able to remove the users? Are they going to get control as a normal user or as a administrator? So all sort of the things are going to get discussed in the post exploration. Means once exploration going to get happen, what are the further things going to get done that can be fall into this part? That is the step 5, post exploration, right? And last step, that is called the reporting part. So reporting part means complete activities from information gathering to post explorations are going to get covered in the reporting with all necessary proof of concepts, particularly like videos or screenshot going to get taken during the testing work, right? So that you can add those screenshots, or you can also provide some uploaded video URLs in the report line, I mean as a hyperlink into the report also, so that it can be get proved to that organization that whatever the weaknesses you have tested or whatever the testing activities you have done, for that necessary proof all the necessary informations with proper technical descriptions has been provided, so that the organization IT team can in real time understand the overall picture for the security level in their IT infrastructure of the organization. So that is the reporting phase, and reporting phase is the most important one. And even being the penetration testers, right, this is the one important skill sets to be get considered, that they should be able to write a technical report. So these are all specific six step methodologies. Now, in that, the phase which is called information gathering. As I said, security testing has this specific methodology. So this is the renowned one. Even there are some other compliances methodologies also there, right? But widely, this is most preferable mechanism, right? Where step by step, all this execution can help the testers to get the desired outcome. So, in this, we are discussing for this information gathering approach for this demo. So, what is the information gathering? So, it is nothing but we can call as an act of collecting the information or data from any target. Okay. So, it could be definitely about some specific target, like for example social engineering perspective. So target will be the human, the technology perspective, then target will be any end user system or client machine or maybe server, right? Or it may be a web server or any sort of web technologies, web applications, mobile applications. So these are all the technical targets to be considered. Now, as I said, two main parts in this information gathering. One that is about the passive, and second is the active. So passive means gathering as much as possible information, but without contacting the target, means via some external resources. We are not going to establish any direct connection with the target, but from other resources or by using search engines and other resources, we try to identify the possible information, right? So here, without establishing contact between you and the pen tester client or target, that means there won't be no any direct connection going to get happen, but indirectly by some online resources or search engines that we can use to identify the information for the target. Now here, certain level of technical information, if some misconfigurations occur, then it can be get evaluated. But other general information about the domain registration, like if it is a web application or a website, the web server information, hosting server information, operating system. So all sort of the even the name server. These are all the core properties about the certain network parameters for any particular uh, host or server, right? So that we can be able to evaluate by the passive information gathering. And active information gathering, which is like reaching out and touching the target, means actively we can establish the connection, obviously through network environment, right, with the target, right? So that is considered as a scanning, means from attacker while in connection with the target, right, and looking forward what informations can be get revealed from the target side. So that is something we can call as a scan out or scanning out the target device. Also, active information gathering, like examples, the technical execution is one thing. Other than the physical security, also to be considered as a active information gathering. Why? Because of if you want to scan the some physical premises about the organization, about the data center for company, right, or any other critical resources of the organization. So obviously, a attacker required to get physical access. That physical access means the physical connection or active connections are going to get established at the target site. Then social engineering is also to be considered. Why? Because of any form of the communication you need to create, right, with the company employees or maybe any particular IT team, or by following them on some social media and somehow with sharing some links and all, trying to get access to that internal resources. So all sort of this like phishing links and all, right? So this is nothing but the example of social engineering. Right? So that is the things about the concept of information gathering by any cost, either by executing passive or active, right? The necessary and the more technical details are required to get obtained from the target side. So that is the motive for tester or the attacker to evaluate the possible data about the target. Now, the things that initially I have discussed, that what exactly we are looking for from the target side. Okay, because many times you might have seen certain all the Hollywood or Bollywood movies in which they might have shown about some hacking activities going to get performed, right? In which you might see a particular guy or girl sitting on laptop typing the commands so fast, right? And just by quick executions and something blah blah, and you might see on the screen that something hack has been done. Now as a fictional representation that can be okay, right? But it is not like that anything going to get done in such a way, right? Because of when we don't have any information or specifically about the weakness information for any target, right, we can't be able to perform any attack. That is simple thing, right? So although it's a obviously fictional thing, movies, right, so it can be okay, just watch and forget. But when we look forward in the real world, right, then we need to understand what technical information are important for us to be get evaluated at initial level, and using those information further we can reach out for enumeration and the vulnerability assessment. So very first thing which is required to understand, that is about the open ports. Now ports means total there are 65,536 ports exist in our network system. Okay, so whenever your device connects to the network environment, these are the number of ports going to get function with your system, right? That is the count is 65,536. Out of this, initially 1,024 ports are considered as a well-known and reserved ports. Means the range starts from 0 to 1,023. Okay, so there are some known services like HTTP, HTTPS, FTP, that is file transfer protocol, DNS, domain name system, right? Then SMTP, mail transfer protocol, right? Telnet, SSH, right? So these are all certain known standards of protocols which are usually get available because of the services are running. Let's say organization has configured their mail server, then obviously SMTP port or maybe the POP3 port must be open, right? Any website having security or SSL certificate, then HTTPS, that is the port number 443, which is obviously going to get open. So some standard services are running. That means this particular ports are act as a gateway for respective services to get function, right? And to get enter to any system, we require particular the port, open port, and blank in the sense of there won't be any services running but still the port must be open. That could be the scenario where it can be get utilized by the attacker or tester to get into any particular system. So very first information we require, that is to identify the what are the number of open ports available. Then if the ports are open, then what are the services running there, what type of servers in use at the target site, other core DNS properties, that is domain name system, so name server, SO, and certain other DNS properties we can be able to evaluate. Then if it is any network device, right, or network environment of any organization, right, we need to understand about the routers or network devices which are in function or in use. Banner information info, that is called server information, hosting server information, port number, IP, and all. Then if it is a website, then spidering a website. Spider means evaluate all possible web pages, drive, folders, images, or any other files hosted on the web server side for any particular website. So that is called spidering out, right? Then for social engineering perspective, obviously that is called what can we learn from the human, means if you want to target any particular individual, it is also the same thing that we require to evaluate or collect as much as possible information about the individual, right? Then ways to enter the building or grounds, that is particular about the physical security, means attacker looking forward that how he or she might going to get going to get enter to the building premises, right? So that is required to get evaluate. So these are all specific way thing that is required to get evaluated while we looking forward to perform the active information gathering. Okay, till this point it is clear. Any query, anyone?
So one thing, like as you said, like in Hollywood movies there are like commands that they use. So do we need some like to learn Linux commands or any other commands?
Yes, definitely it is there in study or regular program.
But basic, right? It's not going to be like. Mm.
Hello, audible?
Yeah, now we can hear you.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, fine. So, what you can do, just a minute. Uh, Everyone, please drop your email ID in this chat box. Those who joined the session, please drop your email ID in the chat box. Okay. So that was one query that I asked that about the Linux. So yes, it will be there in the study. So the number of tools that we are going to use in this cybersecurity program. Now the Linux systems are also having the GUI, right? So you can easily get work with them, but some core things that is required to get execute from the bash or command line level. So yes, regards to that level of necessary commands that we can be going to get study in this regular program as well. So you can get to know dealing with the Linux operating system as well during the program. Clear it is?
Yeah, clear.
Now, what are the methods of obtaining the information? Means the certain ways. So one thing that is something a person can perform information gathering by having the physical access. Means in terms of the physical security, remotely sitting from somewhere else and looking forward that I can get to know about the complete location information, not possible. At any cost, the person need to visit the premises and then traverse all the maybe the buildings or other paths, right? And to identify what are the critical areas on the particular campus or organizational building. So that is called physical access. Second, that is through social engineering by you know utilizing certain information or by establishing connection with the employees of the organization and any sort of way to identify the necessary information about the organization and maybe some technical information or what are the permissions and other things are allowed for the employees in the organization. So that will be either by establishing some relationships or somehow on social media connection to be get established and then try to obtain the information. And third one, which is most preferable way and widely used, that is called the electronic digital access, that is called scanning. So the method in which we are going to perform that is about scanning. So whenever we're looking forward to perform a web application security testing, right, obviously because it's a web technology, that means the website is available in the public
Sharing your
domain.
screen.
Is it not shared? Just a minute.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, I have rejoined. Okay, okay, just a minute. Okay, I think visible now.
Yes.
Yeah, so these are all the particular three methods, right? So electronic digital access or scanning is particularly when we're looking forward by establishing the connection. That's the example, like if it is a website or web application, then obviously it can be available in the public domain, right? And web applications are hosted on some web server which is having some public IP address that can be accessible worldwide, right? So in this regards, it is possible for us to perform the remote scanning, right? But about the physical access, obviously it is not possible. It is required that human or any either proxy you can set up that who can visit behalf of you to some premises and obtain the information. So these three are specifically way of collecting the data. So these three are the methods particularly obtaining the data. Now in the physical access, usually it is about the physical security for the organization. So that means organization need to have proper security execution so that no any intruder or unauthorized person can get inside the premises, right? So that no one can create any harm to their network infrastructure within, or no one can be do any further damage, right? So an intruder to get avoid, right, that means they require a proper checking mechanism that only the employees or maybe registered vendors they can visit, otherwise no any other external person without having strong reason to get in or permission, right, no one can get inside. So physical and human security are particularly measures to prevent or deter the attackers from accessing the physical location. So like for example, usually we can see that company do provide ID card, access ID card, right? So that when they can swipe, it can mark their attendance as well as some area where they want to get in, right? So the magnetic door locks are there, right? So it can only be get released when authorized person's access card has been swipe on the card reader. So that means here we can restrict some uh, physical restrictions for the individuals if they are not permissible. Again, for example, number of top MNCs, they have number of department buildings specifically for some projects, right? So person belongs to some project team, right? And wherever they have the sitting arrangement, right, they can access that building or certain areas, but other specific areas are not going to get accessible. Why? Because of it is not falling in their necessity or the requirement to get access, right? In case if it is required, like someone looking forward to visit for some work in other building blocks or other things, right, it is simply being an employee, they have employee ID card, they can show that to the security over there, and security has a master card available, they can allow the access based on the permission or based on the reason. So that is the thing. So that making sure that an insider means company employees even should not violate the restrictions, right? Then all those are the visitors. Let's say someone can produce like I am the invited by the company administrator to pest control and as a fire inspector coming from some authorities, right? Then obviously need to check their ID cards properly, whether is there any specific mail provided to visit the campus or visit the physical location, right? That is need to make sure that the permissions are in real, not the verbal, right? That means any sort of email communication need to be get produced if someone looking forward that I'm invited for XYZ activity, or let's say someone coming that okay I'm invited for the interview, let me go inside. If it is you, if you are invited, then that will must be a email received from the HR team. So that is all about identify the possible reasons, right, that any outsider having the valid reason to get enter, right? So physical access is most important because of remotely to get protected the assets, all about the servers and other, right? We can have the security devices like firewall, IDS, IPS, proper security mechanism can be get set up, checkpoints can be get set up, but if physically it is not secure, your network infrastructure or your servers stored, I mean you have mounted to any server room, right? Anyone can get access to that physical location, right? That means it is not a proper security. When we talk about the security, it must be a 360-degree form of security where all the possible things must need to be get addressed in terms of the security. So no any loopholes can be available in that security execution. And obviously the focus of the security tester is or even the attacker is to just find out that specific loopholes to get in. So there's a thing about the physical security. Then about the social access or social engineering. So in this, nothing but like, someone looking forward to establish some relationships, or trying to, present some different persons or some authority via call or something, right? So like something, this is called the practice of persuading people to believe you are someone, that obviously not to obtain confidential information by manipulation of legitimate users. Let's say someone from other organization call, employees of the company, that okay, now company has registered with our XYZ services, so we are looking forward to have some setup with your system. Okay, so kindly let us know your possible available time to get remote session so that we can guide you. Now if the employee is not aware with that any such services are going to get provided by the company or anything, right, they might be get fall into this trap, right? That means a proper communication must be required, and also the person, I mean the particular employee, need to understand that what are the certain do's and don'ts that has been applied in terms of the IT security policy by the organization, right? So any sort of such social engineering work can be get restricted, right? So like people can, communication via sending a mail or mass mailing can be get performed, or through messenger, or maybe via call, right? So that is identified, any such methodologies are going to get executed, but only this thing can get possible if the employees are properly aware about possible scams and other malicious things around, right? So that any such attempt going to get occur, they can easily relate what they have been learned in the awareness session or awareness trainings, right? So then such things can be get avoided. So that is something about the role of the social engineering to collect the data. Now in this core technical execution, because these two are specifically in social engineering, some sort of the technology is in use, but for physical security is all about, how person can able to manipulate the security guards or any other security mechanism and get in. But third thing, that on remote or particular digital form, right, how we can be able to obtain the technical data. So here this section is mainly about for performing the port scanning. As I said, there are 65,536 ports are there, right? So in case of any port by mistake open and there is no services running, that means it is like an open invite for the attacker to get into the system, right? So that is the reason, being a security tester, it is required to evaluate, checking out what are the ports open, what are the services are running over there, right? Is there any port which is, open and no service is running, or what are the number of closed ports? So that all necessary details, so these are all technical executions we can consider, are required to get performed by the security tester, or specifically like ethical hackers or pen testers we can say, or security analysts. These are all the specific industry based roles in the cybersecurity domain. Now, introduction to port scanning. So sending a network packets or message throughout the network to learn. As I said, in network environment, we establish the connection with the target, and first of all, in that network environment, we're looking forward that whether the systems are up or down, means whether they're functioning in the network or not. And if they are in the network environment, then we can check what are the ports open and what are the services running there. Then scanning is a method of for discovering the exploitable communication channels. As I said, some loopholes are required. So the port or open port without any services to be considered as that loophole, right? That means that can be act as an exploitable communication channel, right? That can be get misused by the attackers. Applications and services on a system are associated with well-known port numbers. Well-known port numbers, as I said, it is having the range from port number 0 to port number 1023, means total 1024 including 0. So these are called as a well-known ports. In that, you can say, for example, port 80 is falling in this range, that is from 0 to 1023, right? 0 port usually not used, so we can consider from port 1, right? So port 80 is the part of in this range, that is for HTTP. Same way, port number 443, that is for HTTPS, that is also falling in this 1024 range, right? Then all about the FTP, that is port number 21, telnet, that is port number 23, SMTP, that is port number 25, POP3, that is port number 110, NTP port number 123, IMAP port number 143. So all these are considered as a standard ports which are having or falling in this particular range, right? So whenever these ports open, that means that specific known or standard services are running. So that is okay, that is fine. It is not a threat because of services running, right? And that is a standard one, because you should not be allocate the port to other service because it is reserved. Let's say port number 80, right? That is for HTTP, that is hypertext transfer protocol. Now we can't allocate the port 80 to any other service if you're not accessing website, right? Even though at the local level you should not allocate the port 80 to any other service or protocol because it is reserved for HTTP only, right? That means these are the primary information we required to evaluate that what are the other ports open other than well-known ports or services, right? So that is the necessary. So here below in the line that you can see the examples given, like port 80, port number and the services. So port 80 is for HTTP, port 23 is for telnet, 25 is for SMTP, and there are many others in this sequence ports are there. So very first thing, that is to obtain or identify about the port status. Now that is in this slide you can get to know, like there is a link of IANA as well as the Wikipedia. So all port numbers from 0 to 65,535, right? So all these ports information, what protocols and services associated with which particular port number, that you can able to obtain from these links, right? So Wikipedia, even simply by googling out, you can also be able to do uh, I mean get to know all the status about respective port numbers. So that is easily available. Now scanning has certain legalities to consider, right? Because if you, let's say for example, you enroll the program and you have completed the cybersecurity or ethical hacking training, right? And now you are maybe achieving the certificate of ethical hacker or cybersecurity professionals, but this is not giving any kind of license that you can be able to do any security testing anywhere, right? So without permission, if you do even the information gathering approach, specifically active one or scanning, right, it will be invite any criminal activities. That means it is to be considered as a criminal activities. Why? Because of, if any organization has not given a written permission or not done any agreement with you to perform security test, and if you're trying to evaluate some uh, information, that means you are attempting some crime. So legalities global level, in the USA there are no federal law prohibits the scanning. So usually it is uh, not that much. They are not considering it is as a that much critical, right? So there is no specific law for this, but without permission, that might be any civil lawsuits can occur. For example, if I find out being an organized person and I don't see that this is to be get allowed without my permission, so I can raise the objections and accordingly these actions can be get taken, right? In Europe, the number of countries has some restrictions, like Finland. So Finland in the port scan was deemed as an attempt to break, means you are in the initial phase, means if you're doing this, then further also you can go some other activities, so it will be considered as an attempt to break in, right? And even there was a 17-year-old kid was convicted for this type of activities. In some other countries, it might be illegal depending upon the interpretation of the law. That usually the cyber laws on each and every country has some bifurcations or some specific changes. So it can be depends with the interpretations on that country level, like Netherlands, Germany, England, right? So they have some specific level of these restrictions are there. Even in India right now we have the cyber law, in that no such clear provisions for scanning or active information gathering related clauses. Yeah, but if you attempt identify the log has been captured, then the an individual or even the organization can file a legal complaint. That is possible, right? Even the data protection law, I think, going to get introduced very soon by the existing government in India also, right? Maybe upcoming parliament session, that can the bill can be get introduced further. So this depends about the legalities, but yes, as it is saying that it will be considered as an attempt. Information gathering is not itself an attack. It is just like you capture some necessary information, but after obtaining those information, you if you might found any some critical things, right, which is obviously considered as a privacy or confidentiality breach for the organization. So that can be a illegal things to be considered. Clear, everyone? Getting this point? Hello. Okay. Now about certain tips of the port scanning. That is very first thing, that is that you must have the permission before you scan, and you can scan tightly means without keeping any loopholes. You can try all the possible way, right? But you must get the permission first. Second, we need to understand the concept of open ports, closed ports, and filter ports. So these three things are necessary to understand. Then understand the TCP communication. So there is a one network related chapter in which we can understand this communication protocol. TCP is called control protocol. So that we can study in that particular segments in detail. Then three-way handshaking is also the process of TCP, because TCP is known as a connection oriented protocol, right? So these things we can further study. Disabling the ping is something about find out the methods of verifying the systems are up. Means if you can simply type ping and the IP address or domain name, we can get to know about the host or servers are in network or not. If you get reply successful, that means it is in the network. But if you get any request timeout or any other error message, that means the target device is not connected to the network environment, or that might be some network issues to be identified, right? Even though there is a proper knowledge also, the tester have about the TCP IP model, the packets information. So all sort of this part is falling into the network segments, that is called the protocols and services. So that things in a regular training program we can discuss. Now, as I said, port scan can give you number of benefits, right? So the core information which can be get revealed is all about for the services and version. That means, let's say port 80 that is having HTTP, right? But HTTP having which version, 2.0 or any other version, or 1.0 any other version, right? Or 1.2, 1.3, whatever. That means when we scan, it can also reveal the core properties about the services and with respective version. Also, on which web server it is configured, so we can able to obtain the web server information, and the web server configured with what operating system or which operating system, that also we can be able to consider. So this can help us to understand the running operating system information at the target side. And also on larger scale, when you scan entire IP range, we can get to know complete network blueprint about the organization network. So these are all specific core properties that can be get captured when we perform the port scanning. So this is that particular model that we can discuss in details at the regular session during that chapter or module that is called protocols and services. So we have two main protocols, I mean two main models we are going to study, that is OSI model and the TCP/IP model, that is called Department of Defense model. So that in brief we can understand what are the services and what are the purpose of all these layers working in the respective models. And in the port scanning, these are all specific types of scans that we need to perform, and each of these scan types like TCP, SYN, UDP, ACK, window, FIN, that is finish, Xmas, null. So each and every these scan types has specific commands to get applied to scan the target. So for that, in the practical or hands-on part, we have the tool which is available in the Kali Linux operating system. So when we set up for the lab, we can set up the Kali Linux operating system, right? And using that, we can having the tool nmap, which is available in the Kali Linux, and we can perform the necessary commands to study all these scan types or scanning types particularly, so that we can get to know how the connections can be get established with the target and what sort of the data or information we can be able to collect by performing scanning to the target. Clear, everyone?
I
Yes.
I don't have question.
Yes, yes,
Explanation
go
is
ahead.
no. I don't have question. No question.
Oh, no questions. Okay, okay, fine.
Yeah.
Fine. So we are keeping this demo session till here, and the regular classes information can be get provided to you. Maybe we can be start from tomorrow onwards. Clear, everyone?
I have one question.
Yes, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, that is what is the prerequisite for this course? Because I am not from IT. I have basic knowledge
Okay.
about IT, but not for enough.
See, prerequisites are mainly the person should have knowledge on the network communication related. If it is not, then in the program it can be also going to get covered about at least the fundamental level things regards to the network. Then a primary knowledge about the web technologies, like usually at the school level nowadays even people can study the HTML, right, and some sort of the database, right. So number of things which are maybe because of not all the people are that much, even those who are technical study have completed CSC or IT, right, even they are not maybe the sound with this, right. So in the training program we starts with the scratch, right, so all level of people can be get understand the things from very basic.
Okay, okay, I got my answer. So anyone can join this training, right? Those who
Yes,
have
yes.
basic knowledge about the IT.
Yeah, at least you able to run the system, you having like what are the things, what are the, like as a user you can be easily able to use the any operating system, right, specifically Windows and all, that will be fine, because Linux related things are going to get covered the training program.
Okay, okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Well guys, then we can take a leave for today.